Welcome, everybody. We are temporarily missing our chair, but we'll get started, and I think he'll join shortly. We'll start with agenda item number 1, the Pledge of Allegiance. And Elizabeth, will you lead us?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Agenda item number 2, instructions on exiting the building in case of emergency and review of technology options. Jesse Baker, City Manager.
Great, thank you. So as of right now, we don't have anyone in the audience, but if we were to have, I guess we have Kirsten, you're a guest here tonight. If there's an emergency in this room, you can go out the rear of the auditorium on the left or right side and then turn left or right to get outside. For those joining us remotely, thank you for being here as well. If you would like to speak during an item on the agenda, you can use the raise hand feature, and we will have the chair call on you. Other than that, we are not monitoring the Q&A for content. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Agenda item number 3, are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda items? Okay. Number 4, any comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda tonight? Please raise your hand online if you have any. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 5. We're going to hold a public informational hearing for the purpose of explaining the proposed Bartlett Bay Wastewater Treatment Facility project and the financing thereof. Jesse Baker, City Manager, will present, assisted by Erica Quaylen Towle, our Interim Director of Public Works, Brett McCreary, our Deputy Director of Water Resources, and Kirsten DiPietro from Hoyle & Tanner. Thank you so much.
Great. So I'm going to kick us off tonight, and then my colleagues will jump in and add information that I may miss or take over on the technical side of things. So just a reminder of why we are here tonight. On the ballot tomorrow and on the early voting ballots that are already out there is a bond vote question, a local ballot bond vote question for additional financing for our Bartlett Bay Wastewater Treatment Facility. As with all bond votes, this is around authorizing the City Council to take on debt up to a certain amount. It is not requiring that the council do so. It is simply giving them the authority, the public authority to do so. So the point of tonight's hearing by statute is to provide an overview of what this project is, how we got here, the history, the budget of the project, the next steps associated, and answer any questions the public has before they consider that ballot item. So we are specifically talking about our Bartlett Bay Wastewater Treatment Plant facility. This is our second of 2 wastewater treatment facilities in the city. We have also our Airport Parkway wastewater treatment facility. This facility is down off Shelburne Road on Bartlett Bay Road and serves about 7,000 of our residents and businesses in the city. It serves everything west of Spear Street. And it functions in partnership with Airport Parkway in that the solids are handled at Airport Parkway. Bartlett Bay really, and both of our wastewater treatment facilities are really a substantial part of our core municipal services. This is something that the city has to provide to ensure the public's health, to ensure the cleanliness of our environment. It's critical to protecting Lake Champlain, and does so by removing phosphorus and pathogens from our waste stream, everything that comes through our waste stream in the city before the effluent or the output of our wastewater treatment plant hits Lake Champlain. So our wastewater treatment plants remove over 99% of those pathogens from the stream before it hits the lake. And this upgrade is really urgently needed because to ensure that we continue to produce that high quality effluent, or what is being released from the plant, ensure we're protecting our public health through a healthy wastewater treatment system, and preserve water quality in Lake Champlain for decades to come. There's been a lot of conversation about why is this needed now in our community. This is a project that's been underway for several years. The community originally took a bond vote on this project back in 2023. And why we're coming to the voters now is that we have a fully designed and permitted project ready to go that meets our operational needs and the city's needs. We have an obligation as Vermonters and residents to protect the water quality of Lake Champlain. Our existing plan is really at risk. We are at risk for high wet weather events as well as aging infrastructure that is beyond its useful life. And then we have two opportunities. One, we have a low interest state revolving loan fund, Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, low interest loan at 2% that is currently committed to the project for the full cost of the project. That is a program that is a great advantage to municipalities. The way you get on a community, a project gets on a list, and as it comes up, it is funded. So if we lose our place in that line right now, we will have to wait for that opportunity to come back around or finance it a different way. As I mentioned, we have a fully designed and permitted project ready to go, and we have a qualified contractor who is holding the bid for this project as we go through this bond vote. Just back to a few data points on this plant's history and why we are at this place of the end of useful life for a lot of the equipment and buildings and infrastructure that's there. This facility was originally constructed in 1970. Several of us in this room were not born when that facility was constructed. Throughout the decades to come, there were a few upgrades. We went to a anaerobic system in 1999. And in the early 2020s, the community really prioritized upgrading this plant as a priority. So in January 2023, we completed or started the preliminary engineering report. We went through the notice to proceed in September 2023. The design was completed in May of 2025. Then went through permitting. We advertised the bids in November, and they came back in January. And as the community knows, they came back significantly over the initial cost estimate, as many projects in our country are coming back right now. And so we are going back to the voters now for this bond vote. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hoyle Tanner and our Public Works crews to walk us through the technical details of this facility.
Hello, my name is Kirsten DiPietro Warden. I'm with Hoyle Tanner and Associates. I'm the lead technical engineer for this project, and I'm just going to walk through the different portions of the upgrade design. On this slide, you can see all the components that we have proposed to be upgraded. It includes a brand new headworks building, a new biological process, which is called an A2O process, one new secondary clarifiers with refurbishment of the two existing clarifiers, refurbishment of the existing filter building with expanded filtration capacity, a new UV and plant water building that will house new UV equipment, a plant water system, and the effluent heat recovery system, new sludge storage tanks, new sludge handling building with a new chemical feed and storage area, and new operations buildings, along with site improvements and improvements to the yard piping. This plant is the permitted capacity of the plant is 1.25 million gallons per day. Existing flows are approximately 0.8 million gallons per day, so there's room for growth in the sewer shed for the Bartlett Bay facility. One of the drivers for the design is a hydraulic upgrade, not in the permitted capacity, but in the peak flow capacity. This existing facility was originally designed to pass through a peak flow of 3.75 million gallons per day. However, recent storms in the last few years have shown that the plant is being stressed with high wet weather events, and our new design increases that peak flow capacity to 5.7 million gallons per day. Another major driver for the upgrade is the biological process. We're going from an AO process, and I'm not going to get into like the technicalities of what that means, but we're going to an improved and enhanced biological phosphorus removal process, an A2O process, which will more efficiently remove phosphorus biologically instead of chemically, and will set the city up, the city up well for future nutrient limits if they come in their discharge permit in the future, such as nitrogen removal. We can go to the next slide. Other drivers for this upgrade included replacing aging infrastructure. In this slide, you can see that's the existing sludge holding tank, and typically the current operations are that wasted sludge is stored here, and then it is trucked over to the Airport Parkway facility for treatment through the solids handling process over there, which is digestion and dewatering. The steel tank that holds the sludge has many defects, including holes in it, which do not allow the tank to be filled to its capacity. Therefore, that increases the amount of trucks that need to be trucked over the trips daily over to the Airport Parkway facility, which increases greenhouse gases and operator time. The tank is corroding and is beyond its useful life, and the new design replaces this with new concrete storage tanks. Another issue, which is not shown on this slide, is the condition of the existing headworks. Headworks are a very corrosive part of the plant, and their typical life is about 20 years before you need to replace the equipment. Currently, the screening is insufficient, and the grit removal is insufficient. So grit and screenings get through the headworks, and they end up in the wasted sludge. This is causing operational problems over at the Airport Parkway facility in the treatment capacity at that plant. So there's operational issues that are being transferred over to your other facility. A third point of aging infrastructure is the existing UV system. It is no longer supported by the manufacturer, the controls of that system. It works and it is disinfecting, but if it were to fail completely, it would need a whole system upgrade. We can go to the next slide. Other challenges include, we've mentioned before, wet weather events, large wet weather events. The peak capacity of this plant is stressed every time a storm comes through, and we have seen that in the past. A large storm in December of 2023 stressed the clarifiers to the point where it became obvious that a third clarifier was actually needed. They had one clarifier down for repairs, and they spent all night trying to manage the flows between their recycle rates and their pumping rates so that they would not lose solids over the clarifier weirs. And it became obvious that a third clarifier would be needed to help with these peak flows that you're seeing in this sewer shed. Go to the next slide. The treatment upgrade includes this upgrade to an A2O process. I'm not sure if there's animation in this.
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. An A2O process is set up to give the operator flexibility to optimize based on phosphorus removal or nitrogen removal. So there are swing zones set up in the system to either have air on or air off. And this is an enhanced biological phosphorus removal process that doesn't exist now, and it will result in lower chemical costs to remove phosphorus and energy savings. Go to the next slide.
Oh, maybe there is.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
You
Do
can
you want
just
to talk through those?
click if I have time. Do I have time?
Yeah.
All right. So flow enters into the anaerobic selectors where it is mixed with return activated sludge. It then flows into the upper right-hand tank, which is the first it's the anoxic zone, so that's without oxygen. Flow from there is split into two trains. And it enters into the lower tanks. These are the tanks that we're calling swing zones. They can either be aerated or they can just be mixed without oxygen, and that will be an operator selection based on what we're trying to optimize for. In the early years, it is anticipated that the lower tanks will require no oxygen for biological phosphorus removal. However, if a nitrogen discharge limit is imposed on this facility, those are expanded aeration tanks which would be needed to remove ammonia from the system. From there, flow is pumped through the building, through the basement of the building, into the upper tanks, where it then flows by gravity through the rest of the system. The upper tanks are aeration tanks, and they are aerated all the time. From there, it flows to the secondary clarifiers for a solid separation. And I'm not sure if we have more animation.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Okay, from there we go, from secondary clarifiers, we go to the filtration process, where we have a physical separation of solids, and this is where phosphorus is taken out after it is bound up in the solids of the mixed liquor. And from there we go to the UV disinfection building, which is final disinfection before it's discharged to Lake Champlain. One of the aspects of this upgrade is the inclusion of a digital performance platform. The digital performance platform is it's a digital twin, a computer model that is set up of the process. It takes real-time data from online instruments that are situated throughout the tanks, and it pushes that information to this digital twin that sits on a cloud. That digital twin then performs AI algorithms to make predictive decisions about the plant and to help the operator with adjusting flows between the tanks, recycle rates, chemical feed, and all those examples. This is like an operator's best friend. Instead of them having to manually adjust all of the different set points and the different ramping up of the blowers to raise the DO in the aeration tanks, or to lower the DO in the aeration tanks. This platform is called HubGrade, and it is proprietary to Veolia Water Systems, and it is part of the pre-procurement package that we established at the beginning of this design project with the A2O process. And the goal of implementing the digital performance platform is to optimize the system based on operator set points. For example, we want to optimize the amount of chemical that is added to meet the phosphorus discharge limit, or we want to optimize the amount of air that we're putting in and lower our aeration and energy consumption associated with the blowers in the aeration tanks. We can go to the next slide because it talks about some of the sustainable designs. So the digital performance platform is just one, and that is the fourth bullet point on this slide. Other sustainable design attributes in the design were an effluent heat exchange, where we take the effluent from the plant after disinfection and we run it through a heat exchanger, and we are using that to heat the rest of the campus. Think of it as a heat pump, basically. We're putting solar photovoltaic panels on all the new buildings. And all of the equipment that's going in is energy efficient, has premium efficiency motors and VFDs to be able to dial in at these pumps and blowers at their most optimal operating point. Go to the next slide. This slide just shows some of those some of the electrical and natural gas consumption savings. As you can see with the digital performance platform, we anticipate having an annual cost savings of around $22,800. Um, the natural gas consumption is going to go close to zero. The 500 CCFs is just to be a backup heating supply in case it is needed for the boiler system. This is a savings of close to $22,000. The solar arrays will produce about 105,000 kilowatts, which will be an annual savings of another 21,000. And the digital performance platform is anticipated to cut the chemical consumption considerably, saving the city about $135,000 annually. I just should note that the chemical costs are one of the largest costs in your O&M budget, along with the electricity needed for the aeration tank blowers. Those are some of the biggest costs. So all of these design elements we looked at to try to save the city operation and maintenance costs moving forward. And now I'm going to switch it back over.
I also just wanted to add that the chemical costs are those chemicals are really what allow us to put out a very high quality effluent and do a lot of the work of removing phosphorus. That's very important for us discharging to Lake Champlain. So lowering costs on those is a great win for the plant.
And I'll just tack on to that is the current process is not achieving biological phosphorus removal. They are relying on chemical addition to remove phosphorus. So the upgrade to an A2O process will achieve biological phosphorus removal, therefore saving costs on chemicals.
So as we alluded to before, the community approved the $33.8 million bond for this project in 2023. And this slide outlines how that has changed post-bid from the 2023 preliminary engineering to the current cost in 2026, minus the other funding we are bringing into the project for the total of a $50.2 million project with a delta of $16.4 million. So that $16.4 million is really the authorization that the city is looking for on the ballot tomorrow. So just in summary, there's been a lot of conversation about what has changed from the 2023 estimate. The team has already answered some of these questions, but there are kind of two different sets of significant changes. External factors that we are experiencing nationally: inflation, rapid construction escalation. The Buy America, Build America Act came into play for this project. As tariffs increase, that significantly increased the cost of materials and, of course, the fuel costs. And then, as Kirsten alluded to, there were design changes that went along with meeting the core needs of this operational infrastructure for the facility, including the third clarifier, the change in the foundational design, the removal of the buried tank, the climate resiliency factors, and the permit restrictions that were in place around wetlands. So this is the impact to the tax rate. So the top line is, if approved, what the impact to the, not the tax rate, definitely not the tax rate.
Thank you.
Heard it a little late there. The increase to the wastewater rates associated with this additional $16 million loan. So the bottom line is what the voters had previously seen with the original bond, and then the top line is what the increase in those water rate increases over time. I did do, we've gotten a few questions about what this percent changes is one thing, but what this actually means to an average ratepayer, I think is a really good question that we didn't answer before. So what this equates to in FY28, going from an 8.3% increase to an 11.7% increase, is an additional $16 over the course of the year for an average wastewater user. Do want to acknowledge that there are drastically different types of wastewater users depending on family size, family composition, business type, etc. But for our average user, that is the impact. And that includes all models of all other personnel and OM costs associated with running our wastewater system. Obviously, our residents are most concerned about the impact to them as that changes over time. But we do want to note our team has worked really hard to keep water rates low. So right now in FY26, we have the lowest water rate in our comparable communities across the region. And if you look at what that rate will be in FY32 as compared to what other people's rates are today, we are still in the middle of the pack those 6 years later. So the next steps here are tonight is this informational public hearing as required by statute. Tomorrow is the vote. Just a reminder to folks that the polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you have your ballot that was sent to you that you haven't submitted yet, you can drop it in the drop box here at City Hall or return it to your polling place tomorrow, or you can come into your polling place and get another ballot. This is the language that you'll see on the ballot. And if approved by the voters tomorrow, the next steps for the council will be to consider approval of the contract, the low bidder that was the result of the RFP, as well as financing for the project. So with that, we are happy to answer any additional questions.
Let me just point out that if you have your ballots and you haven't returned them, and it's getting closer to 7 o'clock tomorrow, take them right to your polling location. Don't put them in the box. They do check the box very late and they'll run them over to us. But please, if it's like 6 o'clock, just take it to the polling station.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good.
Just add one more thing, which was mentioned by you, Jesse, but I want to highlight, which is that this bond is not just for Bartlett Bay, but it is also for the improvement of the Queen City Park pump stations and the completion of the work at Airport Parkway. So it is going to bring essentially our whole wastewater system into solid condition for the next 25 plus years. And one little fun fact I want to throw out that I learned when I went through the plant was that the water, this quote, discharge that we send particularly to the Winooski River, is cleaner than the water that is coming down the river. So in fact, our plant is actually helping clean the river above and beyond what we're doing to treat our wastewater. And to me, that's just kind of amazing and quite cool.
I have just a technical question, can I ask? So in the new design, how many extra sensors are there going to be in those tanks?
I don't have the exact number, but it's quite a few. There's dissolved oxygen sensors, there's phosphate analyzers, there's nitrogen analyzers, I think we have something called an ORP, an oxygen reduction potential, pH.
Temperature too?
Temperature, there's some that do double duty. Those are the main ones, and they're set up in different zones of those aeration tanks, kind of in the middle and then at the effluent. And those will, like, for example, the phosphate analyzer will then inform, it'll pace the chemical feed pumps. So it's like a feedback loop, and that will pace the pumps and how much chemical to actually send to the dosing points. So
Thanks. Any questions from the public?
There is, can you put the participants back up? There's nobody with their hand up now, but if folks are interested, if folks have any questions, can you use the raise hand feature?
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Sure.
Oh, come on up.
Come on down.
Let me stop sharing for now. I'm happy to bring that back up if you need.
And there's directions on how to turn that little green light on to make sure the microphone is on. Try it again. It's at the base of the stem that you're.
It looks like it's on, but it's not.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. And could you identify yourself, please?
Sure. My name's Elizabeth Lindy. I live in 5 Lakeview Lane, which is adjacent to the Bartlett Bay area as it stands now. I had a couple of questions that, and I apologize if I could find these online someplace, but they weren't easy to find. How much phosphorus is removed currently? What's your influent and your excluent?
I don't have those numbers, but I know that they're removing about 99% of the incoming.
But
phosphorus.
99% of 2 parts per million, or
So
99%?
their discharge permit is a 0.8 milligram per liter. They are exceeding that. Usually they're down around 0.1 or 0.08 milligrams per liter. So they are achieving tremendous phosphorus removal right now through the use of a lot of chemical.
Right.
So I recall, Erica, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, I think if I have my recollection correct, was like annually 18,000 pounds come in, 300 go out.
I'm pulling up the preliminary engineering report to be able to get
Okay.
The other thing that was mentioned was the number of trucks that come and go from that facility, and more if there is. Any idea what that increase is?
The number of trucks that are, or the number of truck trips for sludge hauling should be decreased because we are providing more storage. So it'll be a decrease from the current operations.
I understand that. I'm asking what is today's number?
For some reason,
Hold on a quick sec. Bob's coming over.
great. This is a great Bob question.
It's a great Bob question.
Yeah, hi. Sorry. I'm pretty poor here. I won't turn my camera on. We basically need to take about 4 to 5, about 4 loads per day, Monday through Friday, currently. This should reduce it by about half. And as for the earlier question, I'm sorry I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we take in 68,000 pounds and we put out 440 pounds between the two facilities of phosphorus. So 68,000 and 440 out last year. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So they're really not a big impact on carbon emission from 2 trucks a day. That's to me a non-entity.
Well, it 4 trucks a day going down to 2. Yes. Over time it will be a reduction that way, but certainly nothing
very
like
minimal.
It will be minimal, unlike the effluent heating, which should change the carbon footprint. Thank you.
Are you willing to share what the biologic is?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Are you willing to share what the biologic agent you're using is?
Well, certainly. We're using polyaluminum chloride. The same thing you use for drinking water, for sedimentation and phosphorus binding.
As a biologic?
No, that we don't use a biologic. That's the chemical we use for phosphorus reduction. Biologic, it just happens naturally. Those are the normal bacteria that are in the facility that would come down naturally, even if you just let it go. But like, for instance, when there was flooding in Montpelier, what you do is seed another facility. You take it from another facility, the same bacteria, and it jump starts the process.
Right. I'm asking what the bacteria is.
Oh, they're normal wastewater bacteria. They're sorry. So, like for pneumonia reduction, it's nitrobacter. Reduce it from ammonia to nitrite, and then nitrosomonas remove it to nitrate. But they don't actually ever leave the facility. They stay within the aeration tanks at all times.
Yes.
Unless you had a major disaster like Montpelier did, where it was washed out.
Yes. Well, that's why I wondered if we could have an actual, obviously it's E. coli and everything else, but if there was one specific biologic that had to be restocked. And my last question really is the permit that's restrictive on the north end. I assume that's because of wetlands designation.
Yes.
And what would that change? Would that change any of the projected building areas, building envelopes?
If we had access to the wetlands, is that what you're asking?
Or are you asking what do the wetlands do to the current
Yeah,
new design?
did that being declared wetlands now have an impact on the footprint of the new?
Yes.
Okay, is is that posted somewhere?
So it's posted with all of the DRB permit materials, how the footprint accommodated the wetland delineation.
Okay, because that's what my land adjoins. So that's why I couldn't find it on the website. I looked under the
So
papers
if
I
you
was
want to
given.
shoot me your email,
Sure.
just a quick email, I'd be happy to link directly to those DRB permit plans.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's it. I still didn't get a firm thing on how much phosphorus is actually removed as of now. If it's, I got a ballpark of 0.8 milligrams per liter down to 1 milligram per liter.
No, we averaged 0.05 last year. I'll be certainly glad to send you that information. My email is on the website, bfisher@southburlingtonbt.gov.
Okay. And
Oh,
if it's in
thank you.
parts per million, that would be fabulous. That would be great.
Certainly, yes, I have that all charted out. I have
Okay.
that in front of me.
Okay. Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. Anybody else inside? Nobody online? No hands are raised. Any final comments from City Council besides Tim saying, sorry, I'm late?
When I talked about the water that's going out to the Winooski being cool, it's a whole lot more than that. It's really remarkable that we are processing the waste from 20,000 people and improving the quality of the water in the lake. And I think that's something we should be proud of.
So this is an informational hearing. So if there are no other questions, there's no need to close the hearing. It's just informational for
Yep.
the community.
Yep. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your presentation. Sorry I didn't get to see the whole thing. I'd seen some of it before a few times, but
Please
always
vote.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. We're going to move on to item 6, which is following the Development Review Board's July 10th, 2026 denial of final plat application SD-26-01 at 1720 Spear Street, consider moving to institute proceedings to acquire by eminent domain the right-of-way depicted on the official city map between Parkside Drive and North Jefferson Road, and direct city staff to initiate all necessary steps preliminary to the council appointing a time to examine the premises and hear from the persons interested.
So, Tim, I'm going to recuse myself for the reasons I articulated at the last city council meeting, and I won't repeat all those reasons.
Thank you, Andrew. So, as we've discussed before, right, when the DRB rejected that application, a clock was started of 120 days for the city to either take some action or not take any action. And I think in front of us is an opportunity to try and obtain that easement that is depicted on the official city map that was not granted by the applicant on the DRB application. So that's why the DRB rejected that application in the first place. So the question is, do we just want to go ahead and have this motion, or do you want to have some discussion first?
I think we should go ahead and make a motion, but I will defer to the others.
Is there anybody in the public that wants to comment on this before we make a motion? I don't see any hands raised. Anybody in the house? Do we have language for the motion?
Yes, so it is on your cover sheet. So if you're following remotely, you can see that link to the website as well. So the proposed motion would be to move to institute proceedings to acquire by eminent domain the right-of-way depicted on the official map between Parkside Drive and North Jefferson Road, and direct city staff to initiate all necessary steps preliminary to the council appointing a time to examine the premises and hear from all persons interested.
So moved.
So moved, yeah. And do we add the second line further as has occurred with previous eminent domain proceedings?
So I would recommend you do that as two.
Separate motions. Okay. I second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous of the 4 people, and noting that Andrew has recused.
Further, I move that, as has occurred with previous eminent domain processes initiated by the city will explore active negotiations for the right-of-way with the property owner in parallel.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about this?
I would like to make one comment.
Sure.
I received a letter from a constituent who was very concerned that we were going right to eminent domain instead of going into conversation with the neighbors and trying to resolve this. And I just want to say that for myself, and I think for the council, I can't speak for everybody, but I know that I would love nothing more than to see this happen quickly, to see it happen amicably, to see it happen collaboratively with the property owners. And I think we are set up to do that. I know there's a desire for Habitat for Humanity to be able to move forward with their project. And so there is a sense of urgency, and I hope that we can resolve this quickly and collaboratively.
Agreed.
And I would just note that is, from a staff perspective, how we treat any right-of-way acquisition processes.
Absolutely.
That we always want to partner in an amicable way that is also, fair to the taxpayers.
And the difference here is that we have a ticking clock. We have a schedule in the next 2 months that we're having a hard time meeting quorum sometimes, and we need to get this moving so that we don't lose the opportunity that is in front of us as a city. So, yeah.
Thanks, Lori. Beth, were you going to say something? No? Okay.
No.
So I think we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously, also noting that Andrew recused on that vote as well. So that takes care of item 6. Item 7, other business. You ready to get up early tomorrow?
Thank you, Tim. I will be thinking of you this time.
I'm going to get up early. I'm not going to miss this one, right? So there's no other business. Kind of motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that is unanimous. Even though Andrew's not here, he could be here. So so it is unanimous with 5 votes. Thank you very much. Everybody, please get out and vote tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like I said, if you have absentee ballots you haven't returned yet, I would, up till like 5 p.m., drop them in that box. Otherwise, take them right to your polling location. If you don't know your polling location, go to the city website, go to the elections link, and it gives all the details, all the maps. It'll tell you where to vote. Some people are still confused about where to vote. 1 or 2 come in and go, I thought I was. So.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.